When people hear the word retire, they inherently think investments and planning, what I call the IQ side of retirement. And this show is none of that. It has everything to do with character-driven stories and experiences from across the South that really remind people not to wait for retirement to start living. Because working as an advisor for 15 years, the biggest lie I see people tell themselves is, I'll do that when I retire. And they put life on hold until this someday that may never come. So I'm your host, James Lewis. And on this episode, I'm in Midtown Atlanta with Ford Fry at his petite steak friterie, Bar Blanc. We're actually sitting in Little Sparrow, where Bar Blanc's the top.
Yeah.
To give everyone a geographical position, we're not too far away from Georgia Tech.
Right.
You are not a rambling wreck.
Right. Nope. Not smart enough. Nope.
I really want to dive into the French dip today. You started this pop-up at Bar Blanc that you call French Dip Friday, which is probably one of the greatest ideas that I've ever heard of. Why did you, out of all the French sandwiches, why the French dip? Why did you want to focus on that?
You know, I've always loved French dips. You know, that is probably one of my main orders when I go to Houston's. I get the French dip, or if I go to Hillstone, or if I go to White House in Aspen. It's kind of my cheat meal, I guess you would say.
Sure.
And, you know, I grew up on French dips. You know, my mom, I guess, introduced me. You know, there's a place in Houston, I don't even remember the name of it, but I mean, I just loved French dips. I mean, it's just, I love the dipping and all that. Anything dipped, wet, it's all great for me.
Are you a dipper or a dunker?
I'm full on absorb. I mean, you know.
Well, you also, I remember when we talked about your background before, you grew up traveling in Europe with your grandfather.
Yeah.
Did you experience French dips in Europe as well, or was it always locally? Okay.
No, I never saw it. We go on like R&D trips. We go on trips where we're just eating all over. And in one of our spots, you know, we love going to LA, and LA's got this, it's got this restaurant, and behind the restaurant, it's got like a little secret door, and it goes into this bar, and the bar's got like a little 3-piece jazz band. It's kind of a hidden bar, and they sell a French dip, you know? And I think the French dip, I from what I know, I would assume is kind of more of an LA thing, and but it's classic. You know, it's LA. It's meat, maybe a horseradish aioli or cream of some sort, and bread, and you dunk it, and you know. And the French dip was okay. It was fine. It wasn't anything mind blowing, but so we just kind of wanted to recreate that, and make it, but kind of make it mind blowing if possible.
Mind blowing.
Yeah.
Well, it definitely is. So let's get into the mind-blowingness of it. Let's start with the prime rib itself. Before you cook it, before you throw a seasoning on it, when you're looking at the meat itself raw, like, is there anything in particular that you're looking for in terms of marbling or anything like that?
Oh yeah, okay. I mean, we're known for, we buy, it's, you know, sometimes it hurts, but we buy quality. And charge what we have to charge. So we're not, you know, people may say, oh, you shouldn't be charged. Well, I don't know, you know what I mean? Okay, who wants to go to a discount steakhouse? I mean, you know, you're paying like
that's a great point.
$50-$60 a steak. For me, it was about like, I want to be the best, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And I think people who are spending money on meat and things like that, they don't care about $5, you know what I mean? So, but, you know, we care about quality. So we're hands down looking for the best we can.
And the preparation itself, not that you're going to give all your secrets away, but give me a little bit. Like, how do you guys prepare it? How do you season it, cook it?
Yeah, I'll give it all away, but it's hard for someone at home to do this. But
I'm going to try.
Yeah. We and this came up from Bob. Bob is our chef here, and Bob, it was trial and error, maybe about 3 solid rounds of cooking prime ribs. It's a heavy salt pepper coating on the prime rib. Let that sit in for a little bit. Let that absorb. And then he makes this rub of a lot of roasted garlic, reduced veal jus, some fresh thyme, some handashi, which is a Japanese umami ingredient that is good to go in there. You know, it gives you that umami that you don't know why it's there. And then we kind of wrap that in plastic and let that sit in the walk-in overnight.
Nice.
And that kind of allows it to get all absorb in as much as possible. Then we put it in our combi oven, which is what most people don't have at home.
Yes.
And it imparts a little bit of a steam, but we cook it while it's wrapped super slow overnight.
Okay.
For like 12 hours.
Wow.
So it comes out in the morning, and typically it's got that rub still on there, and then we crank the oven up. So then we just blast it just to get that little hard shell crust on the outside, and then we're good to go. And it's really amazing. I remember the first time I walked in here, and Bob, he said, "Here, you gotta taste it. You gotta taste it." You know, and he just sliced a piece, and I tasted it, and it was one of the most amazing things, because it was like, you know, usually you get this salty outside, and then the inside is not as salty. But this was like, it was seasoned all the way through, and it was super tender. I was like, wow, you know what I mean? It's like, you nailed it this time. So that's the meat.
We just wanted to get behind the scenes with you, Chef Bob, and see how the best French dip in Atlanta is put together. Can
Awesome.
you mind walking us through that?
Yeah, of course. So these are our ribeyes. So last night we seasoned them and then we rub them down. I'm sure Ford probably talked to you guys about what was in it, but it's lots of roasted garlic, reduced veal stock, Dijon mustard, lots of thyme. We cook them overnight at a very low temperature, and then when we come in the morning, someone will pull them out. They'll roast them off at a very high temperature very quickly just to get that nice crust. And you can see this is all the rub that's kind of caramelized on top. And then once they're roasted, we'll drop them back in a low oven. This is a $45,000 oven.
Looks really nice.
So right now it's in a holding pattern where it's putting a little bit of steam in there just to keep it from drying out. It's hot enough to keep it hot, but not hot enough to cook it further. And we'll keep it in here for about 3 hours just for service, and after that, hopefully it's all sold.
Yep.
If not, we'll eat it for staff meal. And then we have these awesome baguettes. These are getting toasted right now. These are from Lee's Bakery. I don't know if you guys are familiar, over on Beaufort Highway. They make the best banh mi's in Atlanta. We just found that this is the best baguette for what we do. There's no softness at all left there. They're completely toasted through. That way when you put all the saucy, gooey meat on top, it will kind of start to soften up a little bit.
Yeah.
But let me see if I can start building one for you guys.
So are you going to throw together an East Coast or a West Coast?
I'm going to do West Coast.
Let's do West Coast. Okay.
Just between, I'm sure Ford probably said the same thing, but the West Coast is the way to go.
Yes.
The East Coast people see the onions and they see the cheese and they just think instantly like, oh, that's the one I want. But really the West Coast is where you can really taste the beef, you taste the horseradish, you don't need anything else.
Yeah, fair.
But you know, there's always people that want the cheese and the onion, so we offer that too. So first things first, horseradish aioli. There's lots of garlic, lots and lots of very spicy horseradish. We will throw some down, and then John is going to pull one of these ribeyes out and start slicing it.
So these are going overnight, 12 hours.
Yep.
It smells amazing.
Yeah,
It smells ridiculously good in here. So you're going ultra thin.
The first couple pieces are probably going to be overcooked from the roasting.
Okay.
We'll try to get to the center where it's a little pink.
So these rib roasts are deboned. There's no.
Yeah, we take them out.
Wow.
And then before we go on the sandwich, we'll come over here. This is a little bit of the au jus. We'll drop it in here for a quick second. Just kind of give it a little bit of moisture back. And we don't worry about being neat. We try to make it kind of messy.
That's the whole point, right? I mean, it's.
Put a little bit more. And then the wrap. This is where any bit of bread that might be a little too crispy, it will kind of soften up in this wrap. It kind of will stay extra crispy on the outside, but the inside starts to soak up all the juice from the meat.
Yep.
And then on the other side, I'll show you the finishing touches. So whether you get the East Coast or West Coast, you know, we got the Tupac and the Biggie. And then our jus, which is kind of the same flavor profile that's on the rub. It's lots of roasted garlic. We throw a lot of raw garlic in at the end, thyme. We take very highly reduced veal stock, reduce it down, and then we add veal stock back to it. So you get that really rich, concentrated flavor, and then we kind of let it back out. And then lastly, we throw in a bunch of dry aged beef shrimp. Mm-hmm. So we use a dry aged chuck for our burgers, and all the outside bark we carve off. And then we'll drop it in here, steep it for 10 minutes. And then on top, we break it with more dry aged beef fat, almost like a vinaigrette. And that really just keeps it moist and flavorful. And that's it. So these are the frites. They're cooked 3 times. So the first time we steam them, we basically obliterate them. We cook them until they're almost falling apart, and then we freeze them. The freezing will rupture any cell structure that's left, and it kind of dehydrates the surface of the potato. And then the next day we'll pull them out of the freezer, cook them in oil at a low temperature, and then we'll cook them for service at a high temperature. And basically what you get is a really soft, almost mashed potato interior, and then you get this really thin glass-like, super crispy on the outside. It's probably the only fry that as it gets cold, they actually get crispier. So it's a pretty special process. It takes a lot of space and a lot of effort to keep it going. It's basically a 2-day process. So it's one thing that's been a challenge here at Little Sparrow, but we've continued to push the bar and keep trying to do it. And it's been very, very great feedback from guests.
Whenever I would order prime rib, I usually go for the end piece because I like the bark and the crust. Are you an end piece kind of guy, or are you a center cut?
I am a crust person. I'm a fat person.
Yeah, so I like bark and fat.
Yeah, bark and fat. Fat that barks up is pretty good. Fat bark.
When it comes to slicing for the sandwich, what is the optimal thickness like you're going for here?
Yeah, we're going for as thin as possible without breaking.
Okay.
We use it on a meat slicer.
Another key thing to have. You have a meat slicer.
Yeah.
James Lewis does not have a meat slicer yet. But maybe I can rent some time in your kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay, the second part of the sandwich, we talked about the dip or the dunk, so we have to talk about the au jus, right? The soul, right, of the whole experience. Talk about how your au jus comes to life.
We make like a veal jus, like a veal stock of roasted bones. Then we simmer that stock with we have a lot of like dry aged trimmings. So we throw the dry aged trimmings inside the broth to infuse that dry aged flavor, strain those trimmings out, throw those away. And then as we pour it in the little dish to go upstairs, we also drizzle more rendered dry aged beef fat on top.
Wow.
So when you're dipping, you can imagine you've got like liquid and a little bit of layer of dry aged beef fat. Your first 3 bites are going to be like, whoa, you know what I mean? This is like beefy. And then I don't think you can take that many hits. You know what I mean? You can't just dip in fat the whole time. You know what I mean? So it's like your first ones, and then it just kind of mellows out a little bit. But we wanted people that first bite to be like, whoa, this is like, this is meat.
Big flavor punch.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. The bread is important.
Yeah,
so talk about the bread. Where does the bread come from? Do you guys make it in-house? What do you
No. I mean, we have fantastic sourdough bread, really crusty. It's a sourdough baguette that we use for the restaurant here at Little Sparrow. So let's start with that. And so one of our first renditions, we tried it with that bread. It was very crusty, very kind of chewy on the outside. You dip it and all that. And while it was good, it just didn't scream French dip to me. I don't know. It was like it was too much. It overpowered, all the other things that were going on inside the sandwich. So there's a banh mi shop called Lee's Bakery that makes fantastic banh mi's and makes fantastic bread. We thought, I think the banh mi bread would maybe work really well. And the banh mi, it's a Vietnamese baguette where it's got a thin shell crust, very thin, but then sponge-like interior, soft, which is good for the absorbing of the liquid. So we use that, and we haven't. We're like, all right, that's it.
Yeah.
So it's got a little crust on the outside, where some of the classic French dip places, they don't really have a crust. It may just be soft, but has like a little chew to it, like Houston's, I think. So which is fine too. Yeah. But
so you talked about it. Let's move into the East Coast and the West Coast. So you have 2 different versions of this masterpiece sandwich. What is the difference between the East Coast and the West Coast?
We weren't going to do this East Coast, West Coast thing, but when we were testing it, we were trying the whole caramelized onion and provolone cheese, gluttonous looking French dip, because that was something like, oh, that's just taking a French dip to a whole nother level. And that's something that I would see in New York, which was like, okay, New York loves their caramelized onions. These people love caramelized onions, and they put so much on there. So we're thinking, well, what if we do both? What if we offer both? We'll call it East Coast, West Coast style, and let people choose. And it was kind of fun because people get it there and they decide what they like the best. And honestly, most people are liking the East Coast style. So the East Coast style's got a big layer of caramelized onions, melted provolone cheese over the top with all the dipping. Same bread, same meat, same everything. And West Coast is very just classic meat. Yeah.
So I find myself not wanting to like the East Coast because I'm a purist at heart, but it's really hard not to like the East Coast. When it comes to gangster rap, how did you land on Biggie Smalls repping East Coast and Tupac repping West.
I mean, because they were the OG when that all went down. They both died. You know what I mean?
Posthumously.
So they both died for what they believe in. And I love Tupac. I love Biggie. And Biggie was just the New York guy, and Tupac was the LA gangster.
You play guitar.
Yeah.
If you're going to cover a Tupac or Biggie song on guitar, what would you try to cover?
I don't know. Probably be like that. What's it called? California or something like
California
that. Tupac. You know what I mean? Probably something, but in a little bit harder way. You know.
There was actually a festival I remember seeing here. There was a cover band, and they played
Spasmatics.
Yes, and they covered California Love, and it was amazing. Do you prefer the West Coast or the East Coast, or can I not ask you?
No, you can. I prefer the West Coast.
You're a West Coast.
Yeah, I'm more of a purist.
Okay.
I mean, I'll eat both, but most people are preferring the East Coast.
East Coast. Bottomless frites.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yes.
How are they prepared, and why did you go with beef tallow instead of duck fat? I'm just curious.
Probably price. I mean, duck fat is beef fat is beefy. I remember on one of our R&D trips, we went to a steakhouse in Seattle. I would call it a steakhouse, not the classic steakhouse. It's a whole animal steakhouse type of thing. And their fries would come to the table, and you would be like, you would smell that beef tallow, and it was like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah.
And that was one thing. So this restaurant, as you know, used to be JCT, and JCT was always known for their fries. So I'm like, okay, we're going to bring fries. So we've got to be better than JCT.
Gotcha.
So we've created this method of making French fries that's very tedious, that is oddly really works well, and it's kind of anti what you normally would do with fries. Normally in fries, you're rinsing all this starch off. Here we cut them. We don't rinse them off. So we're trying to keep all the starch, and then we steam them in our combi ovens. So we steam them, and then we let them cool without messing with them, because they'll break. And then once they've cooled down, then we freeze them. And then we give them 2 fries after that. We'll fry once, and then we'll set to the side, and then right before we pick it up, we'll fry it that second time. And what it does is that starch is on the outside of the fry, and it creates this crunchy crust. It's like weird. I mean, it's like, and it stays, even when the fries sit there for a little bit, even when they get cold, they still have that crunchy taste to it. I mean, that texture to it. I'm like, wow, how did we land on this, you know? Sometimes they have a tendency to be slightly on the greasy side, because we're also kind of tossing in a little extra beef tallow. But I don't mind. It's just rich. It's just really rich.
Yeah. And you serve them with Bernays because
fat on fat.
Fat on fat. Don't get saucy with me, Bernays. Has anyone ever set a record with most orders of frites?
Rarely. I mean, it's rare that even someone asks for that second order. Maybe a couple have. Your
French Dip Friday has become a ritual. Why do you think rituals matter in this business?
You know, I think it's just interesting. I mean, for restaurants, there is, I call it, I've talked to musician friends of mine, and I said, what's the difference now in the music world than what it was back in the day? And now he says, there's just so much content out there for people to choose from. Same with restaurants. There's just so much content. So it's like, what are you doing to stand out? What are you doing to be better than everyone else? What are you doing that's, noteworthy that people want to talk about? And for me, it's like, hey, do something. The Bar Blanc is all about do one thing and do one thing really well. So the steak frite, do the steak frite, do it really well. And lunch, pre-COVID, used to be huge on the West Side. So it's like, where did lunch go on the West Side? So what do we need to do to bring back lunch on the West Side? I'm like, all right, well, let's just serve an amazing French dip sandwich.
French Dip Fridays is only on Friday from 11 to 2. And then a Bar Blanc is open for dinner, but it's a prefix menu. Steak frites. Does that ever change at all, or are there any variations on the steak frites?
Yeah. So the only thing is that we often have like upgrades or different cuts of meat that are kind of coming through that come across our plate that we like to offer. Like it was such a funny story. We have this guy. I just came to eat here I don't know, last week, and I said, Bob, what's your upgrade? What do you got? You know, and I walked in the kitchen, and he had these tomahawk ribeyes that were a little smaller. It was like the head was like about like that. They were like 12 ounces off the bone, which is a small tomahawk. And what it is a guy around here who makes fantastic cheese. He had a cow. He was doing something with it, and it kicked him in the head and knocked him out for like 2 hours.
Wow.
So his wife found him. He woke up, and then he got a gun and she shot the animal. So for the longest time, we were dry aging. I saw this big carcass of these bones dry aging in the cooler.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, I've got, I don't know, 8 of these. And I'm like, okay, I'll take one of them. You know what I mean? So and it was really cool, you know, I don't know what you want to call this cow that got shot, you know, because he kicked its owners in the head. But normally it's not like that. Normally it'll be some sort of Wagyu something or some one-off something that's pretty interesting and fun. We like to have like, you know, and you can always order like, you can get the regular one that's what, $50 for everything. And then you can just maybe get some other one just to try, and then you just share it all. So.
Right. So barblanc.com, no reservations required for lunch, but reservations are required for dinner. We talked about everything except the bar, which we thoroughly should talk about. So you have this amazing cocktail program at Bar Blanc. Jean-Paul, one of the best in the biz. What would you recommend to pair with your French dip if you're having a boozy lunch, or what does Ford Fry order?
I'd get a bottle of wine, I think.
Okay.
That was the goal. We were always wanting to have a place to come that was approachable and to sell bottles of wine, you know, at the table. I think that'd be fun. There is a cocktail on the menu that I have tasted. I do taste cocktails.
Okay.
It's on a big cube. It's basically kind of like a margarita, but made with lemon. It is fantastic.
All right.
It is so good.
We're here at Bar Blanc.
Yes.
I love the craft cocktails you have here. Ford was telling us one of his favorites is I believe it's called the Tequila Daisy.
Yes, sir.
Looking at the menu. Can you walk us through that? Maybe give us a little story behind it?
Absolutely. So a Tequila Daisy is a version of a sour.
Okay.
So your sour cocktails come from the 16th, 17th century. And they are generally 2 parts of your liquor, 1 part of your citrus, and then 1 part of a sweetener. So your daisies kind of play off that a little bit. A lot of them replace that sweetener, normally a simple sugar syrup, with a cordial or liqueur. So daisy, when you translate that into Spanish, becomes a margarita. So your margarita is a very popular classic cocktail of that. So the daisy, Tequila Daisy, is basically kind of a little bit of a play on a margarita.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's a pretty simple recipe. We do 1.5 ounces of a Blanco tequila. We use Luna Azul Blanco here. It's a really great price, very high quality, and very clean. Next up, we're going to do 3/4 ounces of something called Royal Combier. A lot of people might be familiar with something called Combier. This is a version of that.
Okay.
This uses cognac as its base, so it kind of gets a little bit of a deeper flavor. And then something they call elixir, which it's a little bit similar to chartreuse, so you kind of get some of those vibes in there.
Nice.
And then 3/4 ounce of lemon juice. Obviously, you need some citrus in there to counteract any oversweetness, I should say. And then just a little bit of simple syrup. What makes this fun is we do 5 drops of a saline solution. It kind of takes the place of that salt rim you'd get on a margarita.
Interesting. Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then lastly, we take an orange peel, throw it in there, we're gonna shake with that.
Okay.
This is called a royal shake. And basically this does something very similar to when you express that orange peel over the top of a drink, but instead of getting that bright kind of citrus aroma when you inhale to drink it, it incorporates all those oils into the drink. So get a quick shake. You don't want to over dilute it. You do want to get some chill. And then I love a good double strain when I'm doing this. It kind of takes all those little ice chips out of that drink so you don't have any weird textures. And then we're just gonna take that orange peel, get that orange peel that we shook in here, just throw that in the drink over Big Cube. The reason for the Big Cube is it's gonna dilute a lot slower than it would with those smaller ice cubes. So the drink kind of stays exact. You keep the cold on it without, getting too diluted. Yeah, and that's Tequila Daisy.
Okay, may I?
Please do. Yeah.
That's nice.
Thank you.
That is very refreshing.
Yeah.
It's light, it's fresh, I'm getting a lot of citrus. The tequila isn't overpowering at all. It's just really, to me, it's very well balanced.
Yep.
It's just, I don't want to it's a good, clean margarita, man.
There you go.
It's really tasty. Very crisp.
Crisp is a great word for it,
I think good summer drink.
Absolutely.
By the pool with John Paul.
With me.
Well. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure.
Dude, that's so good. Could have a couple of these.
Yeah, please do.
You've had an amazing career so far, now that it's anywhere close to being over, and nor do I want it to come to an end anytime soon, at least not during my lifetime. You've fed Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., a lobster roll. Robert Plant has eaten at Superica in Nashville. Who has any celebrity graced you on French Dip Friday yet that you're aware of? Has Zach ever called you and said, "Man, you're not going to believe who's here"?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But they never tell me.
They never tell you?
They never tell me who comes in here.
At this point in your career, we talk about meaning and purpose on Retire Southern. That's what it's all about. What gives you, the greatest sense of purpose and meaning at this moment in your life right now?
It's the people. It's, we opened restaurants because we wanted to create more growth for all these people that I've just worked with. For it almost like I want to be able to go in a time machine and go forward, because I have no patience. I want to see how this business and us working together has really affected someone's family life, someone's career, someone's, we'll do things where we'll send some of our people over to Europe and they're bringing their family, and I look at their pictures and I see them in Europe and I know we're funding this trip, and I see their wife and I see their kids and I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? We're coming up on our employee party, and we're going to have this Atlanta employee party here. And I don't know if anyone can understand what I experience when I come to our employee party, but it's really an amazing experience, because you come to the party and you see everybody and you see their kids and you see their families, and you're like, wow, I'm responsible for them. And I'm just so honored to be a part of that. But there's also a weight on me. It's like, hey, I need to make sure that we take care of them and that they advance their lives. So that is, I can't tell you how gratifying that feeling is. So as an owner.
Well, no, the proof's in the pudding. I was talking to Zach before you came in, and I was just asking him, hey, how long have you been working for Rocket Farm? And he said he's been here since 2007.
Yeah.
So 19 years.
Yeah.
You've been working with him. That's credit to you. If someone has been waiting for someday to experience a place like this, what would you tell them?
Oh man, don't wait. Just do it.
Just
do it.
Awesome. Well, Ford, gotta say thank you so much for sitting down with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Providing literally the best French dip, I'd say, in the South.
Awesome.
In the U.S. I literally
hear.
tell people, when people fly into Atlanta, I say, make sure you schedule your flight out after lunch on Friday so you can hit it on the way to Hartsfield.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sitting down with us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.